Over the years, my friends and I have explored countless trails and camped in some incredibly remote spots. But there's one trip we took that none of us will ever forget. A weekend in a cabin deep in the woods that we discovered through an obscure online listing. It was meant to be a fun getaway, a chance to unplug from the world and immerse ourselves in nature. Instead, it turned into a nightmare that still haunts us to this day. The plan was straightforward. Drive out to this old cabin we'd rented for practically nothing. Spend the weekend hiking, cooking over a campfire, and perhaps sharing a few ghost stories around the flames. The listing described it as rustic and secluded, which was precisely what we craved, a spot to escape the daily grind. We headed out early on Friday, the five of us squeezed into Erin's beat-up SUV, laughing and joking as we ventured deeper into the countryside. The road twisted through quaint towns and farmlands before narrowing as we entered the forest, the trees enveloping us like a tunnel. The farther we drove, the scarcer signs of civilization became: no houses, no power lines, just endless dense woods. The GPS faltered, its signal weakening as we strayed further from the main paths. By the time we arrived at the cabin, the sun was dipping low, casting elongated shadows over the clearing where the structure stood. It was an ancient, weathered building with flaking paint and a drooping porch. The windows were shrouded in darkness, and the entire place exuded an aura of abandonment, as if it hadn't welcomed visitors in ages. I recall a shiver racing down my spine as I stepped out of the car, though I dismissed it as a response to the sudden chill in the air. "Looks cozy," Aaron quipped, though his voice betrayed a hint of doubt. We all chuckled, but it was that uneasy laughter you forced to mask discomfort. Something about the cabin felt amiss, yet none of us wanted to be the one to chicken out. So we hoisted our bags and ventured inside. The interior matched the exterior's dilapidation: dusty furniture, squeaky floorboards, and a pervasive musty odor lingering in the air. The kitchen was compact, equipped with outdated appliances and a sink that appeared unused for years. The living room featured mismatched chairs and a threadbare couch, all oriented toward a dominant stone fireplace. A wooden staircase ascended to a loft with a couple of modest bedrooms. As we unpacked, I couldn't dispel the sensation that we were trespassing, as though we didn't belong. The place was unnervingly silent, the kind of quiet that weighs on you, amplifying every minor creak. But I kept it to myself, attributing it to jitters and the unfamiliar surroundings. We spent the first evening settling in. Aaron and I kindled a fire in the fireplace while the others organized the kitchen. We prepared hot dogs and beans for dinner, the sort of meal that tastes divine in the wilderness. We ate by the hearth, the crackling flames the sole sound in the cabin. Conversation flowed lightly, but an undercurrent of tension simmered that. We all avoided addressing Dot after dinner. We opted to scout the area around the cabin before full darkness descended. The woods were thick and overgrown, with towering trees huddled close, obscuring most of the waning light. We meandered for a bit, discussing plans for a hike the next day, perhaps locating a stream for fishing. But as we delved deeper, that disquieting feeling resurfaced. The trees seemed to constrict around us, shadows lengthening and deepening with each stride. Eventually, we stumbled into a small clearing and halted abruptly at the sight before us, a cluster of ancient gravestones, partially sunken into the soil, their engravings eroded by time. No remnants of buildings or trails nearby, these forsaken graves amid the forest. It was profoundly disturbing, but we attempted to joke about it. "Guess that's why the cabin was so affordable," Sarah remarked, her tone a bit too shrill. "Yeah, I replied, forcing a grin. Nothing like a graveyard to keep the rent down. We didn't linger. The sun had set, and the encroaching darkness urged us back to the cabin, a growing dread trailing us through the trees. Back inside, we tried to dispel the unease with cards and stories, but the vibe had shifted. Firelight danced shadows across the walls, making the antique furniture appear even more decrepit. Every floorboard groan, every wind gust outside, jolted our nerves. It felt as if the cabin itself was observing us. At some point, we heard a subtle noise from outside, like someone or something shuffling around the cabin. It was a gentle, footstep-like sound on the dirt. We all froze, cards abandoned, eyes flicking to the windows. "Did you hear that?" I whispered, my heart thumping. Mark nodded, his face ashen in the fire's glow. "Yeah, maybe just an animal." None of us bought it. The noise was too purposeful, too measured for wildlife. It encircled the cabin, pausing intermittently before resuming. The indoor silence was oppressive, interrupted only by the fire's pops. "Maybe we should check it out," Mike proposed, though his conviction waned. "No way," Sarah retorted sharply. "We stay inside. Whatever it is, it'll leave." But it persisted, methodically looping around, growing clearer as if the entity outside intended to announce its presence, to instill fear. I seized a flashlight and rose. "I'm going to see what it is," I declared, feigning bravery. Aaron accompanied me, and we approached the front door, the others huddling by the fire, faces taut with apprehension. The cabin's air thickened with dread, the relentless footsteps the only external sound. We eased the door open, hinges protesting, the frigid night air slamming into us. The outer darkness was impenetrable. I swept the flashlight beam across trees, porch, and dirt path, but nothing. Aaron and I shared a wary look before stepping out, gravel crunching beneath us. The noise had ceased, but the hush was more alarming. We circled the cabin, the light throwing elongated. Spooky shadows, yet no footprints, no disturbances, just infinite woodland gloom. We retreated indoors, assuring ourselves it was imagination at play, but inwardly we sensed peril. The cabin's atmosphere had darkened, laden with unspoken terror. We lingered by the fire, feigning normalcy, but the strain was intolerable. Eventually, we agreed to bed down in the living room, avoiding the isolated upstairs rooms. We arranged sleeping bags. Around the hearth, flames offering scant illumination. Sleep evaded me. I lay listening to the cabin's moans, each noise accelerating my pulse, mind conjuring shadows beyond the light. The others were awake too, breaths rapid and shallow, forms rigid. Then, as drowsiness neared, I heard it anew, footsteps, this time, from the loft above. Unmistakable slow, intentional paces across the wooden floor. My heart halted, breath snagged. I glanced at Erin, eyes wide, fixated on the ceiling. "Someone's up there," he breathed, barely audible. I couldn't reply, terror muting me. The steps persisted, back and forth, as if searching. Floorboards creaked under weight, resounding in the night's quiet. We were immobilized by fear, scarcely breathing. The footsteps advanced to the staircase top, then paused. Only fire crackles and our frantic breaths filled the void. Slowly, they descended. Something snapped in me. I knew we must flee. I leaped up, flashlight in hand. "We need to leave now," I urged, voice quivering. The others complied without protest, scrambling chaotically for belongings. The steps neared with each second we didn't await revelation. We dashed for the door, erupting into the chill night. We sprinted to the car, ignoring backward glances. Aaron fumbled keys, hands trembling, but unlocked it. We crammed in, doors slamming, engine roaring as we barreled down the gravel path. Cabin vanishing into obscurity. We didn't halt until miles distant, silence heavy with lingering fear. Aaron shattered it. What the hell was that? His voice shook. I don't know, I answered, pulse racing. But I'm not going back. None slept that night. We secured a cheap motel in the nearest town, clustering to process the ordeal. No explanations emerged. Only persistent dread and those descending footsteps echo. There's something about being on the water that's both soothing and disconcerting, the vast lake expanse. The solitude, how sounds travel across the serene surface. It's where you feel utterly liberated, yet completely vulnerable. I adore fishing, particularly on secluded lakes, where the world fades away. But after an incident, a few summers back, I can't dismiss that some locales are best avoided. It was late summer when Mark and I ventured to a lake locals in a nearby town had mentioned. Unmapped, it lay deep in the woods, devoid of others for miles. They hailed it as a fisher's haven, pristine waters, abundant fish, utter isolation. The drive was lengthy and serpentine, roads curving through forests where trees arched overhead. Like a canopy, we arrived at sunset, golden hues bathing everything. The lake surpassed expectations crystal clear, sunlight dancing on its mirror-like surface. We pitched camp in a shore clearing, tent facing the water. A subtle chill hinted at summer's end, but the sky was star-studded. It evoked gratitude for nature's escape from urban clamor. Post-setup, we fished briefly before dark. We launched. Our aluminum boat oars splashes piercing the hush. The lake was oddly silent. No birds, no bugs, just water softly kissing the hull. Peaceful, yet the quiet unnerved, as if everything consistent, everything held its breath. We rowed to the center. Depths dark and profound. Full night had fallen, light from a crescent moon and our lantern. We cast lines, sitting in quiet camaraderie, awaiting nibbles. Then we spotted him a shadow on the shore, faint in dimming light. I thought illusion or animal, but closer inspection revealed a man, immobile, observing us. Hey, Mark, I murmured, masking alarm, see that guy? Mark squinted. Yeah, weird, another camper. I don't know, I whispered, thought we were alone. Mark shrugged. Maybe a local checking his turf. We tried ignoring him, focusing on fishing, but unease mounted. Glances confirmed his stillness, no gear, no light, just standing in obscurity. Soon, I couldn't endure. This is creeping me out. Why just stand there? Mark agreed, serious. Yeah, let's head back. We reeled in. I rowed shoreward. Eyes on him, he remained statue-like. Closer, details emerged. Tall, slender, unkempt hair, ragged, soiled clothes. His face was vacant, emotionless. Trance, dash. Like Mark and I traded anxious looks. This wasn't a camper. Something was wrong, prickling my neck hairs. Let's get to the tent, I said steadily. We hauled the boat, hastening from the lake. I peeked back, he watched, unmoving. At camp, embers glowed eerily. We sat wordless, spooked, silence enveloping us like a shroud. The forest seemed expectant. We should have asked what he wanted, Mark said strainly. Maybe harmless, just odd. Maybe, I echoed doubtfully, but what if not? Isolation amplified vulnerability miles from aid alone. If trouble arose, we cooked dinner over flames, but tension thickened, eyes scanning beyond firelight, as if Woods anticipated. Post-meal, we retired, hoping rest eased nerves. In the tent, I stared ceilingward, sensing surveillance. Wind rose, shivering trees and spine. I strained for anomalies, hearing only gusts and lake laps as sleep beckoned. A rhythmic tap against the tent roused me. Eyes flew open, heart slamming. Breath held, I dismissed as wind, but it repeated, tap, tap, tap. I shook Mark. Wake up, hear that. Groggy, he sat. What? Insistent taps resumed from tent's side. We froze, fear-widening eyes. Who's there? Mark called shakily. Silence, then wind and leaves. Taps halted. After eternity, Mark unzipped. Tent with flashlight, peering out nothing, just swaying trees, moonlit lake. But beam revealed chilling sight. Fresh footprints from shore to tent, retreating to water. Horror-struck, someone watched us sleep. We bolted from tent, packing frantically. Staying was unthinkable. As we loaded, I scanned lake empty, serene. He'd vanished. We spoke little, urgency propelling us. Drive back was fraught. Silence waited by terror. Forest roads shadowed in moonlight. I mirrored 4 pursuers, none. Only on highway town lights nearing did relief seep in, fear lingering. We never revisited that night, knowing it wasn't for reliving, yet it endures. His identity, intent unknown. Why watch, follow? That watched sensation haunts. Though moved on, footprints, memory, chills, because, in nowhere, you're not always alone. I've been a land surveyor for nearly 2 decades, tackling remote areas with wild animals, erratic weather, and gear breakdowns far from help. But nothing readied me for what lurked under that Arizona desert bridge. It's an experience that clings, eroding your thoughts, underscoring that in desolation, you're truly isolated. Mid-July, heat oppressed like a burden. Sun scorching, endless sand, rocks, and brush. Azure sky infinite. I surveyed a bridge over a parched riverbed, 50 miles from Phoenix. Old, from the 60s, low traffic, isolated, ideal for my solitary preference. I drove a dusty trail, radio static, fading. Quiet appealed. Wind whispers, hawk cries. Arrived midday, sun blistering. Parked, geared up for inspection. Bridge worn, rusted beams, cracked concrete, undisturbed grime. Underneath, checking supports, I spotted anomaly, a large dumpster in shadows. Bizarre in wilderness. Why here? Curiosity drew me. Dumpster, battered, rusted, graffitied. Foul rot odor emanated. Hesitant, I lifted lid, expecting trash. Instead, horror. Tattered clothes, filthy blankets, empty. Can someone shelter? But worse, crude etchings. On walls, distorted faces, twisted forms, alien symbols. Thought drifters camp. Common remotely, but this felt desperate, deranged. I retreated, heart racing. Enough seen, finish jot, leave. Unease clung as I worked, glances to dumpster, expecting emergence. Then, gravel crunches, footsteps nearing. I tensed, scanning, nothing visible. Steps halted. Wind whistled riverbed. Peripheral motion, figure from dumpster. Man, filthy rags, wild hair, gaunt, crazed eyes. Stared, then advanced. Throat tightened. Unknown intent, but flight urged. Backed away, he quickened. "Hey," I called shakily. "Just working. Gone soon." No reply, gaze feral, unhinged. Mind world truck nearby, him blocking. Survey irrelevant. Survival paramount. He rasped, "My place, you shouldn't be." "Sorry," calmly, "didn't know." Leaving now, but he persisted, fists clenching, eyes inscrutable, gap narrowing, act now. Holstered revolver, remote precaution. Drew aimed shakily. "Stop, don't close her." He froze, eyes bulging at gun. Hoped retreat, but he grinned eerily, chilling. "Think that helps? Out here, you're alone as me." No time, warning shot, groundward, echo vast. Flinched, but advanced, grin. Broadening, intent dark. Panic peaked. Broke for truck, not looking back. Reached, dove in, keys fumbling. Engine ignited. Last glimpsey by dumpster, smiling. Floored it, dust clouds trailing. Didn't stop, miles on. Bridge receded, dot never returned. Reported, another finished. Man's fate unknown, unwanted. Day haunts, face, smile in dreams. Remote work, now watchful, expecting him. Bridge lesson, isolation tricks, mind, blurs, safety danger, question reality. Encounters, remind vulnerability. In nowhere, stay vigilant. Lurking unknowns await. I've lodged in myriad motels, from quaint. 2 seedy, but one from years ago endures. Small, isolated off desolate highway. Unplanned stop after endless drive. Needed rest. Found nightmare instead. Hours driving, road eternal through fields, forests. Headlights pierced black, rare signs. Barns guided, neon vacancy flickered relief. Modest building, aged cars, faded signs sputtering. Decades untouched, peeling paint, grimy windows. Tired, I overlooked. Sleep sufficed, parked gravelly. Cold air, misty, shroud-like. Neon entrance bulb glowed yellow on worn pavement. Door creaked, lobby dim, faded wallpaper, dusty brochures. Behind counter, elderly man, thick glasses obscuring eyes. Looked up blankly. Room, confident facade. Stared long, nodded slowly. Produced ledger, trembling hands, sin, gravelled voice. Scribbled name, he ignored keyed hook. Room 6, no smoking, pets. Key in hand, thanks ignored. Blank stare followed. Room 6, endmost, tree-lined. Door chipped, number faint. Lock smooth. Inside expected. Sagging bed, rickety dresser, wall TV. Stained carpet, peeling paper, mildew scent. Warm enough post-drive. Bag tossed, bed creaked. TV static, off. Noticed side door bathroom. Cramped, cracked mirror, flickering light, freshened. Changed, bedded. Quiet, eerie, highway hum distant. Lamp off, eyes shut. Exhaustion beckoned, but sleep resisted. Darkness heavy, silence absolute, world vanished. Tossed, gnawing wrongness, motel clerk, vibe off dot. Drifting, soft tap at door, heart lurched. Sat, listening, wind, branch. But deliberate, steady, chill. Hands shook lampward. Glow on, stared door, echoes lingering. Didn't want check, but must. Legs swung, feet cold, floor. Crept, knob cold. Hesitated, pulled open. Night air rushed. Lot empty, gravel, neon glistened. Stepped out, crunching. Mist, ghostly. Nothing, about turn. spotted, footprint in gravel, not mine large, clear. Leading treesward, heart skipped, retreated, slammed, locked. Racing mind, someone stood, tapped gone, where, why? Calm attempt, weirdo prank, but knew otherwise. Skin crawled, bedded blankets, chin high, sleep impossible. Lay dark, staring door. Hours eternal, silence smothering. Then, window tap, froze, breath caught. Beside bed curtained, soft, fingernail-like. Didn't want to look. Continued, drawing. Eyes shut, blankets over like child from monster. Insisted louder, couldn't ignore. Flashlight grabbed, breath deep. Courage summoned, beam windowward. Vague shape curtained, heart hammered. Curtain gripped, yanked. Beam illuminated. Nothing empty lot. Swirling mist, neon. Breath shaky. Closing, noticed. Handprint corner, window smudged. Faint, inside glass. Blood iced, stumbled. Flashlight clattered. Grabbed keys, bag, bolted door. Hands shook knob. Wrenched open, ran nightward, air slapping. Didn't look. Car, engine roared. Gravel sprayed. Drove hours. Civilization lights, safety. Clean motel, checked. But sleepless, handprint, tapping replayed. Never learned. Never returned. Told others, imagination, prank. But knew real. Rode much since. Choose lit, populated. Never isolated, nowhere darkness waits. Finds if careless. Escape may elude. If these tales chilled you, hit like, subscribe for more horrors. Share creepy encounters, belied love, hearing what haunts you. Ring bell, miss no upload. Thanks watching. Remember, scariest spots, unexpected. Stay safe, next time.